Well, good evening, everyone. Guess what time of day it is? It is Tuesday, and it is time for Women with Grit, where we interview exceptional women who are doing amazing and dynamic things, not only in their industry, but in their communities as well. We are so excited to have with us Rhea Kinnard, who will be joining us here shortly, and you'll get an opportunity to learn from this exceptional woman of grit who amazing and dynamic things in the Nashville community. So we are so excited. Go ahead and grab a friend, tell them that we are on, and definitely feel free to join in with us. I am here joined with my co-host, Mr. Lee Moulette, who is also here. Hey, Lee.
Hey. Hey,
Happy
how's everybody?
Tuesday.
Happy Tuesday. Good to see you, Sherelle.
Good to see you too.
You've been hanging out in the snow or you've been hanging out in the sun?
Oh, I'm on my way to the sun. I haven't quite made it. Got delayed, but
Okay.
making
Yeah.
my way down south.
Good to have that option.
A little bit.
Yes. Yeah, the rest
Yes.
of us will
So
be looking out the window.
that's all right. Snow sledding, right?
Well, yeah. Well, the boys have been out with some makeshift sleds, and our house is on a hill, so they've just been going straight down, having a good time. They did it yesterday, so this morning we're looking out the window, and I told Val, I said, "Looks like we got a public park now because some of the other kids from the neighborhood were sliding down our hill this morning."
Having a good time. See, that's
Yes,
the joys of the snow.
exactly.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so they were having a really good time, and I said I was going to get out there with them, but I've been working all day, so
It doesn't
I
snow
didn't.
often though, Lee.
It doesn't. It doesn't. Yeah, but but the work is still here, so I'm trying to get it done, and maybe I'll slide out for a minute tomorrow and play with them. So we'll see.
Won't be here long, and it won't take long for that soft snow to turn into ice, and it's just
Well,
nasty.
yeah. So we actually can't leave the house because our driveway is it's steep and windy,
Yeah.
and it iced up Sunday. So since it's been
Ooh,
iced up, we can't go anywhere. Um,
wow.
yeah, a good friend of mine, James Crumlin, gave me a ride to pick up the boys. They were
Mm.
in Birmingham, the little boys. They were in Birmingham with their godparents, and so we met them halfway. And he had to give me a ride there because I couldn't get my car out the
Oh
garage.
my.
If I could
Wow.
get out the garage, I might have run into a wall going down. So,
Just be safe.
yeah,
Ice is
yeah.
nothing to play with. I know you've heard and seen what has already taken place on I-24 as well as down in Texas.
Yeah, yep. So yeah, I'm not playing with it. I'm good. We have enough of everything except milk. We just ran out of milk today. We have almond milk though. So some of the kids, the youngest one, he may not recognize the difference. We'll see.
No, probably not.
Yeah.
Well, so excited about our guest this evening with Ms.
Yes,
Rhea
Rhea.
Kinnard. Yes.
Yes,
Well,
yeah.
before we bring on Rhea, let's go ahead and thank our sponsors. You want to bring them up, Lee?
Yes, let's go ahead and do that. We want to thank MJC Insurance Group, Mr. Leon Wright and his team at mjcins.com. mjcins.com. Check them out. Have them get you some quotes and test your rate, see what you're paying, compare. Hey, it's free to get it compared, and if you have a savings, then you can either take their rate or maybe even go back to your agent and try to negotiate a better rate. But it's all about saving money. If you spend it, you don't have it. If you save it, you can invest it into something different. So it's all about saving at every place you can. But MJC, auto insurance, homeowners insurance, motorcycle, if you got a sled, or anything like that, a summer home, give them a call. They'll shop 30 companies, over 30 companies that they have agreements with that they can shop to get you the best rate. And some of these companies are actually big names that you see on commercials all the time, and they do have some good rates. So, but they're not our sponsors, so I'm not mentioning their names.
That's why you want to be a sponsor. That's right.
Why you want to be a sponsor. Yep. So also Mollett Investment Services is Lauren Overton at Lauren Lauren at Mollett Mollette investmentservices.com. Give her a call. She can take information from you to get you a quote for any type of corporate benefits, company benefits you need, whether it's a 401k plan, a group health or dental plan, short, long-term disability, any type of benefits. Lauren is happy to help you. In addition to, for solo entrepreneurs, there's something called an individual K or a solo K. We help people with those as well. It's a very good resource, so check it out. And then lastly, Mr. Terrell Perry, Terrell at MolletteInvestmentServices.com, Terrell at MolletteInvestmentServices.com. Terrell is here to help you put together your 2021 financial strategic plan. So many of us are operating without a plan to build wealth, to get our kids through college, to plan for retirement. And Terrell is around to help you do that. In addition to that, many people are walking around without life insurance, and Terrell is here to help you get life insurance. And he's going to be honest with you. He's not going to sell you a 10-year policy when you have a 2-year-old. You need a 20-year policy. You want to make sure that kid gets out of college. So he's going to help you determine whether or not you need permanent insurance or term insurance or whatever type of insurance you need. So give Terrell a call or Lauren a call at 615-627-0968. And then, of course, we want to shout out our own Sherelle Lands at Vision Strategy Management. See her books in the background there. Got the scene set. And go to her website, SherelleLands.com, SherelleLands.com, for all type of motivational and instructional guides to help you build your company, build your life, and to move forward. And then last, I want you to go check out our website at the table, thetableaction.com, thetableaction.com, and just find out what we're doing. I'm not going to talk about what we're doing, but it's phenomenal. So check it out and give us your feedback. So that's all we have today, Sherelle. Hey, I do want to shout out this new book that's coming out. It's called The Sum of Us, The Sum of Us by Dr. McGee. Okay. And I think it just hit today, came out today, but you got to check it out. It's about how discrimination actually costs our country, each person in our country over $2,000 per person. So discrimination, lower pay, all those types of things is really interesting to check out. You can Google it. Google The Sum of Us, and that's SUM of Us. Really, really interesting. One highlight out of it, she talks about two things. So she talks about how a white high school dropout on average still makes more than a black college graduate. So think about that. A white high school dropout still makes more than a black. And I say black interchangeably with African American, but our country is full of folks from Haiti and from Africa and Jamaica, and so they're black. And so I use that term for that. So I want to make sure I don't offend anyone. But so that's interesting. The other thing is she surveyed an auto plant in Mississippi, and found out that this company was voting as to whether or not they're going to have a union. And of course, with union, they would have got better benefits, better pay, would have better working conditions overall. And she literally talked to a couple of white people that said that they were going to vote against it if black people were for it. And another person said they were going to vote against it because black people would come up and they want to keep black people down. And they felt like that if black people were making moves, that would push white people down. It's crazy. Check it out. It's just always good information to have. And it's definitely something that we need to get over in this country so that the entire country can prosper. So that's all I have, Sherelle. I'm excited about today.
Interesting stuff. Awesome. Well, thank you, Lee. So I'm super excited to bring up Miss Rhea Kinnard with Kinnard Associates. And if you all don't know Rhea, you are definitely, hey, Rhea.
Hey, Sherelle.
Hey, Rhea. Hey, Lee. Old friend. And I'm gonna fade out for a minute and I'll be right back.
Okay. Well, we're definitely excited to have you, Rhea.
Yes,
phenomenal.
I heard you guys talking about snow earlier today. I said I'll walk in it, run in it, play in it, but I won't drive in it. So
you won't drive. I know that's right. Yes, I'm with
Yeah.
you. Grab our sleds and slide down or come up with a fun, creative way to get down that. But driving in it, I'm with you there.
Yeah, yeah. No. I'll be
Mm,
walking.
I'm with it. So those of you who don't know, Miss Kinnard is actually the publisher and founder of the Nashville Guide, right? African American Guide. And anyway, I won't go into the details, but Rhea, let's go ahead. Our viewers would love to hear from you. Tell us about you and tell us about your story of grit.
Well, Sherelle, my story is really not that unusual, to women all over the country. Just like many women, especially like single mothers, my journey started. I started the company back in '97, and I had just left corporate America. And one of the reasons why I decided to start my company is because I wanted to have a little bit more control of my future. I wanted to also be able to be there for my kids. At the time, I was raising a 10-year-old and a 1-year-old. So I had to make some decisions because being in corporate America, I saw a lot of limitations. I saw a lot of challenges, and I saw a lot of inequities. And so I thought, I felt the biggest challenge really was going to be allowing my future to be determined by other people, regardless of the talent you brought to the table, the hard work you did, or whatever. It didn't really matter. There were other things that could trump that. And
Right.
so, no pun intended. But for me personally, I just felt, that I wanted and needed to take a leap of faith and to step out on faith and start my own company. And so when I did that, I did my homework. And I mean, I had to go and, think about what was needed. What did I need to do in order to make that happen? So I had to make sure, I had enough finances, to give me enough lead time to test the waters to see if it could work. I had to decide as a new entrepreneur, what does my company model look like? Some people go out there and reach for the stars, and some of us kind of want something that's a little bit more attainable, manageable. And so when I set it up, I took out a little $5,000 loan, and I used that to put my corporate ID, together, all of those things that identify your company, your letterhead and your folders, your website, your phone, all these things. So I made the initial investment getting those things in order because I wanted to make sure that when I stepped out, I had my act together. I wanted it to be professional. And that's very important too, because as the saying goes, first impression is last impression. So I really wanted to make sure I left a good impression with that. And so once I had all of those details together, and keeping in mind, I'm doing this, but I kind of had this make ends meet mentality. It was never about getting rich or anything like that.
Yeah.
I don't have any complaints with that, but it was just kind of making ends meet because again, I got 2 kids, so I needed to be there for them. And so in the time that allotted working around that role, I got out, I started networking. And, before long, definitely within a few months, I secured a few smaller contracts and, did good on that so that, the reputation kept sustaining itself and more opportunities and things would come. And then I found myself really ended up in places I never thought I would be. Mm-hmm. So that's another thing about entrepreneurship. You never know where you're going to be. You might set out to do this or to do that, but you'll find yourself, in places you really couldn't imagine. Mm-hmm. When I did the company, I wanted to also position it with something that I had personal experience with, but also something that I could bring to the table that I thought was absent in the community, and that was diversity. It wasn't a lot of that around the time that I started my company. I wasn't going to try to compete with the big wigs. You know, they were pros and experts, and so they did what they did, and I did what I did. So I brought my area expertise to the table. And so it also harnessed me more opportunities, because even with mainstream companies, if you're not experienced or you don't understand a culture, you know, you can get into some trouble with that. And we've seen that over and over again with a lot of our mainstream companies trying to put things out, you know, dealing with other cultures that they may be unfamiliar with, or maybe they have not talked with the right people. And so I wanted to make sure that if we aligned ourselves, you know, that would be an asset that I could bring to the table. So one of the things too that I rolled off initially was what you mentioned, the African American Guide to Nashville. When I would travel, I was always asked about Nashville. There's always, do you know Dolly Parton? Do you know? I just thought it was funny, you know, because I was like, that's really not a true perspective of Nashville. You know, it's a lot more all-encompassing than that. And there's a lot of Black history, a lot of contributions that we have in the city that people just weren't familiar with. So I said, this is definitely needed. So I rolled that out, and the first edition came out in 1998. And after about the fourth edition, a gentleman by the name of Butch Spiriton, who was with the National Conventions Bureau, it was called the Bureau at the time, saw that edition. What is unique to that is that he takes it into his diversity person to discuss a possible partnership. And lo and behold, that person actually happened to be my cousin at the same time, Connie Kinnard. So it didn't really happen, our relationship of working together, because we set out to do that. It actually happened that way because Butch, her boss at the time, wanted to build a potential partnership. Yeah. And so that's how she and I started working together in that capacity. And as I continued on with the agency, I started partnering, which was a big thing then, you know, partnering with other companies. And so we would go after contracts, and we worked with everybody from the lottery to Metro Schools to our Metropolitan Development and Housing Agency, and the list goes on and on and on. Then I ended up building another partnership. So these antennas were just spreading out. Exactly. With another good friend of mine. Her name is Gwen Davis. And so at the time, she was doing a lot of fantastic things in the community with diversity. So she wanted to partner so that I can bring on kind of the marketing end of a lot of things that she was doing with the diversity program development. So we built a relationship, and so it went to a whole nother level. So we started working on all of these different things around the city and beyond. And so really for the next 10 years, you know, the agency was just growing by leaps and bounds, and a lot of success that I had, but still managing, you know, my role, you know, as a mom. But lo and behold, 2008 rolls around, you know. So now we have just hit a recession. And so everybody's kind of running from the hills. You know, what do you do? And that's so funny that you and I have always talked about, when you deal with these types of situations, what do? Do you pull a pillar? Do you pivot?
Right.
You recreate? And I think during that time, we did it all. You know, I had to end up just doing all of that. And so probably for the first 2 years during that time, it was very challenging, to say the least. I think it was definitely one of the more daunting times of being in business, you know, during that time. And it's different than what we're experiencing now. I mean, it's tough now, but it's different because if you recall, you know, there was a hemorrhaging of homes, and there were jobs were like almost absent. Whereas now it's not necessarily, you know, just strictly, you know, the lack of jobs. I mean, you can still get a job. You know, there's still opportunity with what we're dealing with now. I think you just have to figure out where the opportunities are.
That's right.
And
And
so
bend and lean into them.
is what now?
And be comfortable bending and leaning into them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So during that time, it was tough, but after doing some pivoting and reinventing and, going into my little magic box, because you have to learn different skill sets along the way, I was able to still in the midst of that, to land some contracts, because typically with local and state government, even if you're dealing with tough times, they still typically, do the things that they are, set to do on their, with their contractual obligations. So
Yeah.
we were able to get some contracts during that time. And so, to pick things back up and to get the company back running. And so again, things were great. I mean, after we got through that 2-year hurdle, I would probably say our revenues went up probably 300%. So it did exceedingly well and kept going and doing great things all over the country. And then 2020 hits.
That's right.
And so as an entrepreneur, that is one thing that you will have to be prepared for, is all the unexpected pitfalls. They're going to come. You will have your highs, but you're going to have your lows. And I think that is one of the things that will give you sustaining power. If you're up against a brick wall, being able to know how to navigate through that. I'm not, a big fan of some of the stuff that you're having to do. I didn't like social media when it first came out. I still have a love. But it's just something you have to learn and just something you have to do if you want to continue to have sustaining power, as an entrepreneur. And that's just the way it is. I always say sometimes you got to do what you got to do what you want to do. Yeah, so I have to do a little bit of, of everything. But even with the 2020 challenges that we faced, and I think I had shared with you guys during that time, I even had a medical crisis. I was helping my daughter plan for her 25th birthday, and we were hanging some little string lights, and one of the poles was getting ready to fall. And so Superwoman here thought she could just leap over and keep it from falling, and missed about 6 steps and landed on her left leg and just tore it all to shreds, tore ACL, all that stuff. So anyway, I had to go through 2020 even dealing with all of that. But, I come from, tough stock. And one thing that I learned is it doesn't matter what you go through. People do not want to hear excuses. If you got to drag your leg around, drag it around and get the job done.
Come with solutions. Yeah.
Yeah. So, so anyway, we finally got through all the stuff in 2020 and, fast forward to where we are now. And I have to say, I'm in a good place personally. And I think too, one of the things when I started my company, I had a 3-pronged approach, and I call it the 3 Ps: passion, purpose, and philanthropy. So those are 3 things that I set out, laid down as the foundation of my company. And I've just always felt if you've got those 3 things going for you, then you won't have much of a problem succeeding. Your passion is, of course, and Lee knows this all too well. It's just that thing that you love. It's just what you love to do. And whether you're getting rich at it or not, it's just that thing that you're just committed to. You love it, So I always say, if you can find a way to make money doing it, you'll be just fine.
Yeah.
Then you have, your purpose. And I liken this probably more to the entertainment industry than any other industry that I've seen. You can be the most talented person in the world, but if you really don't have a strong sense of who you are, it almost always is that person's downfall. So I think as an individual, have a very strong purposeful background, if you will, purposeful foundation. And we can look in any industry. It could be entertainment, it can be business, politics. There's so much of that we see. When you lack that, it just can be, it can be very treacherous. It can be very, unfortunate. And then, of course, there's always, and then there's philanthropy. So that's the other pillar that I strongly believe in. I think one of my favorite scriptures is, to whom much is given, much is required. So, yeah. So I think that that's also an important quality that you have to bring to the table too. You don't want to just always, feel you need to be there's always something you're trying to get, but also find in that process and, an opportunity, to give back. I really think that's where most of your blessings will come from.
So, Rhea, and to that point, what or who inspires you when you think about your journey through entrepreneurship, and when you think about what you have accomplished and just who you are and how you have decided to really establish your organization? What's your inspiration?
I would probably say, as far as the typical, the basic, it's always going to be family. I mean, everything we do typically is for our families. We want to leave lasting legacies. We want to work hard. We want to lay a good foundation. As from a corporate standpoint, or the bigger perspective, I mean, I admire people like Michelle Obama, Oprah Winfrey, Kamala Harris. I can go on and on and on with that list. I would probably say for, your ordinary day-to-day people, one of the ladies I mentioned that I had partnered with, Gwen Davis, she was very instrumental in kind of taking me under her wings and working with me during the early stages of my career, my business. So I definitely have a lot of respect and love for her. As well as Vicki Yates. She's also been wonderful. I've been knowing Vicki probably well over 20 years, and we've worked together on a lot of different things throughout the years. And so she's always been a listening ear and always ready to, extend herself in any way that she can. And then, of course, there's always my mom. She was very, very resilient. People say I get my resilience from her. But she was just a very resilient woman. She had her challenges, but I just always looked up to her strength.
No, I think that that's definitely good. I know, and I don't even know if I'm pretty sure I've shared this with you, just when I was looking at, when I was still working and looking at the entrepreneurship space. I remember the first time that we met. I don't know if you remember, but it was at the luncheon, and sat next to you, right? And just you were, I think, celebrating the 20th year of the African American Guide. And literally, it's so funny how how God answers prayers. But that was one of the things that I remember thinking through was like, okay, if this is really going to happen, these are the three things that I need. And your story of how you, as a single parent, decided to take this leap was such an encouragement, and an inspiration to me in my space of where I was and actually being able to do that. So I thank you definitely for that and for all that you continue to do, even with the guide. So talk to us a little bit about when you think about what's next for Rhea and where you are taking your business in 2021, given 2020, can't go backwards. What does 2021 look like for you?
Well, kind of backing back a little bit, one of the things that I had to share about my journey in 2020 is I ended up having to retire the guide. With so much going on with the tourism industry kind of falling into this abyss and everything, it just wasn't it was counterproductive rather than to try to continue to publish it. So after, maybe I think we've done 20 plus editions. After that, I just decided that we just no longer were going to be able to do that. So again, it goes back to our conversations, do I pull a pillar? Do I pivot? Do I, reinvent? Do I recreate? So I spent a lot of time in 2020 thinking through that as I rolled into 2021. And so what I'm doing now, because the company has been doing great, is I'm hoping to be able to bring on other consultants and do more in the field of diversity, because that is, we all know there's a lot of work that needs to be done there. Yeah. And so looking to bring on other people to help the company to move forward in that capacity.
So awesome. Rhea, that's awesome that you're or actually growing that that part of your company. At the beginning, at the beginning, I mentioned a book that just came out called The Sum of All People, and it talks so much about the challenges that are counterproductive to people that make decisions. Talked about the plant in Mississippi where there was a vote up for whether or not they're going to unionize, and some of the white people said, well, if it's going to benefit Black people, I'm not going to do it. If they're for it, I'm not going to do it, even though, all tides rise and they're going to get higher wages and better insurance and those types of things. And it just seems like, that's one of those things that we see, in a lot of different ways, whether it's politics or business or schools or what have you. So what are you seeing as some of the opportunities for companies and individuals as you work in the diversity space?
I think a lot of it is going to be training. I think one of the pitfalls that we have and continue to deal with is what I call this tribal or monolithic thinking, that everything has to fit into this box, and it doesn't. And, when we take the time to really understand what diversity is, then we realize it's actually an asset. It's not something adverse to our companies because we include it. It's an asset. It's all the uniqueness that people bring as assets into the folds and companies and things in which they work and interact. So unless there's a greater understanding of what it is, and I think a lot of training is going to be necessary for that, and a willingness. I've always said that it starts at the top and works at the bottom. That's one piece of it. But it also, has to do with leveling the playing field and getting results. So the playing field has to be leveled also. And that's in all aspects of, business, corporate, or what have you, education. The playing field has to be leveled. So the opportunities have to be there for people of color, for women, we deal with age discrimination, different levels, different capacities in our life. So we have to be willing to embrace that and understand that those are assets and not liabilities.
So, and when you're talking to companies that may bring you in and say, hey, we want to do this, what type of objections or obstacles do you run into if you were able to go back to the CEO every time and say, hey, these are the things that these are the people you need to straighten out so that we can have a smoother road. What kind of obstacles are they throwing in the way? Because, you think about it, a lot of this stuff has been dealt, these have been challenges for many, many years. This isn't the first year that this is a challenge. It's obviously people are finally paying attention. Yeah. But you've been in business for a while, and I, as have I, and we've run into these problems. So, but what would you tell some of these CEOs?
I would say that there has to be a real commitment there. Not a commitment in just words, but there has to be a commitment in deeds, because what happens is that people are taking their cues. They're taking the cues for the higher ups, the CEOs, the principals of the company. And even if you say you're committed, but it's clear that it's not in deed, then typically the other tiers within the company are not going to be excited. Trust me, if the CEO says this is what we're going to do, and your job is on the line, oh, you're going to do it. You won't have that problem. And so that's what I think has to happen, because sometimes, like I say, it may be in words, we're going to do this, but there aren't resources. There aren't things that are there to allow it to do what it's intended to do. So I think it's important to ensure that if you're going to do it, let's make sure we have all of the components that we need to make it an overall successful program and effort.
Yeah, I think that that's definitely important because I've seen the same where it's if you approach diversity as just an affinity group or something to do and you don't get the support from the very top, it's treated as such a group, as opposed to a real way to drive success, value, and as well as inclusion in an organization. What's been, when you think about the organizations that you've worked with, what has been, I guess, whether it be the funniest story that you could share or the one that kind of that made you say,
Oh goodness, funny. I don't know if I've had any funny stories. I can't really think of anything funny off the top. I would probably just say it has been a rewarding journey.
Yeah.
I'm just glad that I took a leap of faith. As a matter of fact, next year it'll be 25 years. So I'm glad I took a leap of faith and that I was able to get out there and not just work in it from the for-profit arm, but also the giving back. I've had the opportunity. I think Lee, you and I worked with, was it United Way many, many moons ago?
Yeah.
Renewal House, and just the reward, that you get of being able to use your talents to go in there and make a difference. I would say that probably, as I look at my journey, has been the most rewarding. Just the difference, that I was able to make. And then 25 years later, even with all the obstacles, because there have been many, but to be able to continue, I'm really, really thankful for that. And, people ask me from time to time, when are you going to retire? I'm like, what is that? What is that thing? I'm going to do this to the day I die, to do this. I'm going to do it to the day I die, and to me, it goes back to passion. Life is short, people. Do what you love. Take a chance, leap on out there, of course, make sure your ducks are in a row. Don't go out there and do something you're not ready to do and then calling me going off because I told you to do it. But, just think about that, and that's always been a motivating force for me, is how short life is. It's just short. And so I try to harness as much as I can and to do as much as I can and enjoy as much as I can, because you know what? One day it's going to come and I'm not going to be able to do it anymore. So, I really relish in that. So I'm just going to keep pushing forward and just see what the next, era is in my life,
So Rhea, one of the things we always try to help our listeners understand that, life isn't in business and being success and becoming, getting the levels of success that you and our guests have attained. There are pitfalls in the road. I mean, and it comes from a personal perspective, a business perspective. It just comes, So talk about one of those times and what you had to do to, pull yourself up and get yourself back on schedule and in gear.
Yeah. Well, as I had mentioned earlier, the recession of 2008 was challenging, and even 2020 were very challenging. And I think that you have to, know what you're capable of, know your strengths, know your weaknesses, know the different industries, allow and require yourself to grow, build relationships, build partnerships. It's many different things that you have to do in order to have some sustainability, in trying to be an entrepreneur. And I've done it all. I've had to deal with all of it. And making smart business decisions, I'm nowhere near, certainly not near elite, but, I'm trying to get there. But just always thinking in a forward capacity. What are the next steps? What can I do? I'm still getting used to this whole virtual thing, because before then I was I would fly a lot. And so most of the things I would do were more in person. So it was done a little bit differently. And so now, it's virtually, done. It's different.
Right.
It's a lot easier. It definitely streamlines your life a lot better. But I'm also mindful. I don't want to get too content with this, and the next thing you know, you got to get back out there and do the hard work, the gritty work.
Right.
Again. So I just make sure, I'm just kind of on my toes at all times and just ready to do whatever it is I have to do. Ready to pivot, Sherelle, as we say.
That's right.
What do you miss? What do you miss most about being on the road? And are you looking forward to getting back on the road?
I've been doing this for so long, and I tell you, most people don't know this, but one of my biggest fears is flying. As much as I fly, I am just, people, my kids like, why do you fly if you're just terrified? You just, but I believe that everything is connected. So if I don't get out there and do what I'm supposed to do, then how do I know where I'm supposed to end up? So, I just choose to be fearless. I mean, yes, there are things I'm afraid to do, but I'm still gonna do it, and just push through it. And that's just kind of how I choose to live my life. And I'll tell you a story. It's sad that he's gone. I didn't know much about him, and that's Kobe Bryant. I didn't keep up with a lot of sports. But after he passed and I started kind of delving into learning a little bit more about him, I was so impressed. I've always had this kind of preconceived notion about what athletes were about, so I never kept up with it. But after I started learning more about him, I was so impressed. He was so incredibly fearless. And I'm like, that is why he achieved the things that he did. He was incredibly fearless, very smart. And I would never have thought that, about him until I, started paying a little more attention. Very impressed, very much so.
So, Rhea, when you think about, because you've mentioned fearlessness, you've mentioned resilience, you've mentioned grit. When you think about like core attributes that women in business need to be successful, what else would you add to that list?
Well, definitely, resilience, and everything goes back to the three-pronged approach that I said: passion, purpose, and philanthropy. Purpose. I just think everything starts with self. I just think we have to understand ourselves. I like to read self-help books. I like a lot of different books, and Lee, I plan on getting that book that you mentioned. The sum. Is it the sum of all fears? You said
the sum of our people. The sum of us. The sum of us.
I definitely want
to. SUM. The sum of
Okay,
us.
I definitely want to get that. But I read a lot. I like to read books that make me take a look, at myself and what are my strengths, what are my weaknesses, what am I afraid of, how do I move past. I like to make sure I'm taking inventory of myself, and I think that if we can all do that, then we know ourselves. We know what works for us, what doesn't. And I think those are some of the core components that we need and that are essential in helping us to move up, up the ladder, whether we're doing it in corporate America or whether we're doing it as an entrepreneur. But I think everything just begins with self. And I think with those other components, I just think that it's a recipe for great success.
I love that. Well, you didn't get a chance to get any water, so you want to. We're just kind of rolling.
You have people shouting you out and everything. Of course, Connie's on. And actually, Moncherie Holmes, who was our guest very recently, 2 weeks ago, she's on. And from Bogota, Colombia, Anyango is on, and she was one of our guests as well. And my lion brother Floyd Gibbs is on. So just a number of people shouting you out right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
I see you got some fabulous women on too. Shout out.
Hey, that's what it's about. you know, there's just so many awesome, amazing women that are that continuously get overlooked. And when you know, when you're looking for experts and what have you, and you know, and quite frankly, you know, that's kind of, you know, when Sherelle and I really started talking about, we weren't talking about Women with Grit initially. We were talking about, you know, putting together a kind of a program or company or what have you to really help companies, you know, recruit and retain and promote women.
Yeah.
So we still have some thoughts around how we want to do that, but you know, the pandemic hit, and and I mentioned something about doing a podcast or something live, and Sherelle said, "Let's do it." The next thing I knew, I was scheduled to be on live.
Look, Sherelle doesn't mess around. Okay, I've worked with her before. She does not mess around.
No, she doesn't. She was like, this dude will
make it happen.
And you know what I have to say as well, and I've worked with Sherelle, and she was very instrumental. Definitely, some of the things that I did with her helped me to even prepare for the pandemic that I wasn't anticipating. But Sherelle, you know, I want to just give you a shout out and just say, you know, I appreciate, you know, a lot of the great work that you do and some of the sessions that we've had and how it really helped, you know, me streamline, you know, my company. So I really appreciate that. And I appreciate you for that.
Hey, Connie said to ask you about your birthday bashes. They're legendary.
Oh, that's hilarious. Well, I usually have my little parties every year. You know, like I say, life is short. So every year I do something. It could be anything from going down to Princess Chicken and having those hot chicken wings and just hanging out. It could be we've had spa parties here. We do all these different things. But anytime it ends with a 0, I always do something big.
Okay.
So the 40th, and I love old school music. I absolutely love it. So each decade I will choose an artist and, you know, bring them in, and we just celebrate and have a great time. But it is a party with a purpose. We always attach a purpose with that, where we, you know, try to raise money for a good cause. But so my 40th, it was one of Connie's favorites, which is Howard Hewitt.
Oh,
and we all
okay.
love him. And then for the 50th, it was Fred Jackson.
Okay.
And so for the 60th, you know, there's still like this pool that's out, but I've got my hand on the pulse. I've got a couple of people I want to consider. So, okay. Connie, we still have a little time. You know,
you have a little time before that.
I just turned 42, so we got a little time.
And Laurinette Sweeney Ford gave a shout out, and Mark Jackson.
Hey, Mark.
Yeah, the man that works the magic with all the cameras and video and all that stuff.
I worked with Mark. Mark did some videography for a health fair we did, and he did a great job. So he's definitely one of the people that I hope to continue to work with. Great guy. And Mark and I also graduated from TSU together, same year.
Oh, wow. Okay. There.
Sure did.
Look at there.
We sure did.
That is awesome. Hey, everybody, if you have questions for Rhea, send them in. She's an encyclopedia, and you know, there are World Book and Britannica don't really produce encyclopedias anymore. So this is a Rhea encyclopedia.
I don't know if I'll do my best. I don't have all the answers. You know, I'm a work in progress, and I plan on being a life learner. I'm always open to learning and growing, but I'll do my best. So
yes. So what do you like to do? Well, we know you like to throw parties. What else do you like to do for fun?
Well, I really don't like to throw parties. I only do it once a year.
Well, you might not like to throw parties. You like to be there. So
sometimes it depends on who's throwing the party.
Oh, okay.
I would say my hobbies are, I'm one of these people. I'm a homebody. I really enjoy being at home. I love watching a lot of different types of movies. Love music. I'm very eclectic. I definitely appreciate and love my me time. But I also like spending time with family and friends. I love to travel. Really love to do that. But I would say, I'm a nature type of person. I appreciate, believe it or not, the smaller things in life. I went out today with my daughter and her dog, and we just went walking and just kicking the little snow, and I relish in that because, like I say, maybe a day will come where I don't get to do that, anymore. So I just appreciate the smaller things. And, if God wants to throw something even bigger and better my way, hey, I'll take it, but I just appreciate whatever comes my way, and I try to just make the most out of it.
So another fun question. We're going to book Connie sometime soon, and of course she'll be live from Miami. It's probably sitting on the beach.
Well, Lee, we might have to do that one in person. I'll make my way to Florida.
I was talking to a friend of mine that lives in not too far from Miami, and she actually had the nerve to send me the weather reports, and it's like 80 degrees there. I was like, are you kidding me? It's like we can't even leave our homes,
And my wife's mom, Val's mom, lives in Aventura. And so we're out on the boat today.
Wow.
Hanging out. Yeah.
You'll join in virtual. I'm gonna go find Connie in Miami.
So give us a good question that we need to ask Connie when she's on the show.
Oh yeah. I'm gonna give you a real good question.
Okay.
I'll be ready.
All right. Yeah. Now you have a daughter and a son.
I do.
Either one of them interested in coming into business?
No, not really. They think what I do is incredibly boring. More so my daughter. She's into the whole healthcare industry and loves all the blood and guts and stuff. My son is more of like a free spirit. He just kind of enjoys life and does his own thing and everything. So, I just let them do what they do. I'm not the type of parent where I feel like you gotta get in this. I just believe you should let people do what they want to do. Just do you.
Right. Yeah. But that's I think one of the beauties about what you do is it does allow you to exercise a certain amount of freedom and creativity as you go about your business. So so who knows? Maybe yes, maybe no. Maybe you have a grandchild that wants to do it or something. So
well, we'll see. But it's I'm just trying to build it. I got a goddaughter, and I call her my bonus baby. Who's expressed some interest and everything. So it just really depends. But I'll just continue to do it and help those out there that are interested, continue to mentor individuals, do what you do, Lee. And so and just continue on with it. But I enjoy it. So I hope to continue to do it for a very long time, another 25 years or more.
Yeah, well, we know you'll be killing it if you do.
Yeah, that's right.
How can folks get in touch with you? I know you mentioned you're not a big social media fan.
Before we jump into that, Rhea, I definitely want to make sure that Connie had pretty much an ask, which was that she basically said that you're really strategic with your money management, which is key for entrepreneurs. So can you share some of your tips as it relates to up and coming entrepreneurs in the space of money management?
Okay, you're asking me or you asking Lee?
For you, Rhea.
I mean, I'm no guru when it comes to that, but I've always, I used to have this philosophy many moons ago, and I used to always say it's not about what you make, it's what you do with what you keep. You don't always have to make a lot of money. I don't think. But I think it's how you manage what you have and the consistency and longevity of what you do with it. As a matter of fact, my son and I went and we decided, we're going to buy some stocks and take advantage, of that opportunity, and we'll see what it yields, in the long run. But I just think just managing, your money. I have a word that I use in my life, and I call it balance. So make some, you can spend some, but make sure that you're saving and investing. And like Lee said, make sure you have your life insurances, or as we say, have your house in order. Just make sure you got your ducks in a row and things in order, but you can also enjoy that ride along the way, Yeah. So did I do good, Lee?
You did very well. That's perfect. You hit, because, here's the thing, and I always tell people this, and I have, some of my clients will say, oh, well, I'm gonna spend it all now. I don't know what's gonna happen later. I say, well, here's the problem. If you spend it all now, you mess up and you're still alive for 30 more years, you screwed. So, so you need to make sure you put up something. And in addition to that, you don't want to be this very successful person, and when you pass away, your kids are trying to get a GoFundMe to bury you.
Yeah, that's right.
That's not teaching people the right thing either. So
that's right.
So that's why life insurance is important. That having and as you said, just really setting up a legacy for your children, your grandchildren, great grandchildren. Just you want them to know that you were around and thinking about them even before they got
That's
here.
Right. That's right. That's right.
So you have to do a good job.
That is so true. And you got to remember too, we didn't have the head start, that other cultures, had. So we're very late, in the game. So we have to work, twice as hard and, kind of be twice as smart about, how we, manage and do what we do with what we have. So, yeah, I totally agree with that. Definitely. Yeah,
I tell you, you touched on something that was in Dr. Heather McGee's book, in the Sum of Us, just about the generational. It's and I'm not going to give everybody the stuff. It just Google it, order it, do Audible. The information in there will it just helps you understand, both Black and white people. It helps white people understand what systems, when we say systemic racism and systemic policies, it kind of helps them understand what we mean. I mean, back in the 50s, we couldn't buy houses. We couldn't get federal money to buy houses. Well, if our parents weren't able to buy houses, which is the way that most people build wealth in their lives, so then that's wealth that they couldn't pass on. And
that's
so
right.
All of a sudden it becomes generational. I didn't realize until I was her interview that college back in the 40s and 50s was free. But then as we started going to college, they started wanting to charge more. The government stopped, so the government started taking stuff away. And then in the last thing, the public pool. Now you think about this, and I remember in Detroit where I grew up, we used to have all these public pools. Yeah. When I got to Tennessee, I wondered where the public pools were. And literally, I think there was one at Centennial Park, and they said they filled it in because they didn't want to integrate. When integration became law, they said, well, instead of us swimming with some Black folks, we're going to just fill it in. Now nobody has a pool. So it's like, I'm going to take my toys and run, and I won't have anybody to play with, but at least I ain't got to play with you. So, so it's very, very interesting there. Yeah. So Sherelle, what else do you have going on?
Quite a bit. Some things I'm not at privy to saying just yet, but I do have an empowerment series that is going right now, as well as execution. So if you're looking at ways to get mentally, as well as, from an execution perspective, going in your business, that is what we are aimed at working on right now. Launching a couple of programs, and then also we've got the execution series, which is the book on the left for roadmap to success. So I'm excited about it, working with, phenomenal clients such as Rhea, to help continue to move businesses forward as we look at 2021. So I'm excited about those things.
That's awesome. So Rhea, how can people get in touch with you?
Well, as I mentioned before, we're doing really good. We're doing great, actually. And it's hard to kind of talk about it when you look at what's kind of the climate of the country. But fortunately, we are kind of experiencing some great opportunity with the business. And so I am looking for consultants and would like to talk with individuals who may be interested in joining our team. So if they are interested, you can send me an email. Send it to Rhea at KinnardAssociates.com and just spell out the word and love to talk to you and see how we can bring you on and to help us grow and do some pretty awesome things.
And so what area are you specifically looking at for consultants?
All different areas of marketing. If you do social media, I'm interested. If you're a good writer, I'm interested. Marketing, I'm interested. So anything in the outreach, we do a lot of outreach. So anything that you do, or any talent or experience that you have that you think could benefit the company, as well as we benefit from your talent, we'd love to talk with you.
Okay, awesome. There you have it. There's an opportunity with Kinnard Associates. So make sure you reach out to Rhea. You see her information on the screen. I have known Rhea for over 25 years. I remember when she had a corporate job.
Yep. Look, I had to leave corporate. As I tell people, I said, and it works. I've seen people do so well, and I'm so proud of them. Mm-hmm. But I think there's certain mindsets like mine, yours, and Sherelle, where I think we do much better just kind of doing our own thing. Our brains just kind of work that way. Mm-hmm. And I didn't like, for me, the limitations that I personally experienced, Mm-hmm. And so I just always felt that the risk was being somewhere where I'm going to be limited based on someone else's perception or what they think I can or can't do. And so I just felt I needed to kind of seize control and take a leap and get out there and do things my way.
That is awesome. You all heard it this evening from our good friend Rhea Kinnard. Make sure you share this evening's show with your friends and your network. We're on YouTube and we're on LinkedIn. Obviously, we're on Facebook. So make sure, if you haven't liked our Facebook page, we ask you to go ahead and please like it. Also ask you to subscribe to our Women with Grit YouTube page and then find us on LinkedIn as well. But again, share this information and our website, womenwithgrit.com.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
So go to our website, womenwithgrit.com, and check us out there. But again, we definitely ask that you share this information. People are looking for, you have friends that would really benefit from what Rhea talked about today. And so don't be selfish, share it. Let people know what you heard, and let's look forward to next week. Thank you all for tuning in. We'll definitely shout out again our sponsors, MJC Insurance Group, mjcins.com, Molette Investment Services, www.moletteinvestmentservices.com, The Tableaction.com, www.thetableaction.com, and Strategic Vision Management. And you can go to SherelleLands.com to check out all the great things she's doing and continues to do. I'm kicking it over to Sherelle to wrap us up.
I just want to say again, Rhea, thank you so much for sharing your pearls of wisdom. Thank you for the beacon of light that you are in the Nashville community. We're so excited about it and excuse me. So excited about just all that we have learned today and all that we are experiencing and looking forward to next week. Be sure to tune in next week. I got to get some water. But be sure to tune in next week where we have just another phenomenal guest that will grace our stage on Women with Grit. Lee has already told you how to get in touch with us. And with that being said, Rhea, is there anything else that you would like to leave before we close out?
Other than just, as I've said before, life is short. If there's something out there that you've been pondering about doing, just take a leap of faith, believe in yourself, step out there and do it, do it while you can, and I wish, everyone success with whatever their endeavors may be. And I want to thank you guys also for having me on the show. It's been great.
Yes, it's been great having you, old friend. It's good to see you. And definitely, it's been fun to watch your career and your business grow. And then just hearing about your kids. I mean, your daughter was just, I guess
she was a baby.
Yeah, she wasn't born yet when I met you.
She's graduating from UT, not UT, she just graduated from UT a couple of years ago, Western Kentucky, as a nurse. So she wants to go in and do her part and try to make a difference, with so much that's going on. So we're really excited about that. We'll be celebrating her in May.
Yeah, okay, so she definitely is in for the guts, blood, and glory.
Yes, she is.
Wonderful. Well, congratulations. Wonderful job.
Yes.
Thanks.
Yep. All right. We'll have a wonderful night.
All right, everybody. Peace. Have an amazing week. We'll see you next Tuesday, 7 Central Time. That's Facebook Live, YouTube, LinkedIn, or www.womenwithgrit.com.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.